An unexpected alien transmission changes everything. The vast emptiness of space stretched out before Captain Sarah Chen as she gazed through the viewport of the International Space Station horizon. It was humanity's most ambitious project yet, a stepping stone to the stars. Sarah's eyes drifted to the blue marble of Earth below, a sight that never failed to take her breath away. "Captain, we're receiving an anomalous signal." Lieutenant Raj Patel's voice crackled over the comm. "It's not one of ours." Sarah's heart raced as she made her way to the communications hub. The implications were staggering. "Put it on screen, Raj." The main display flickered to life, showing a strange, oscillating waveform. Symbols unlike any human language scrolled across the bottom. "It's being broadcast on all frequencies," Raj explained, his fingers flying over the controls. "And it's coming from Jupiter's orbit." Sarah leaned in, her mind reeling. "Can we decode it?" Before Raj could answer, the waveform shifted, morphing into a face, distinctly alien, with large, almond-shaped eyes and blue-tinged skin. "People of Earth," the alien spoke, its voice a melodious blend of tones. "I am Ambassador Zexara of the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace and bearing a gift, an invitation to join us among the stars." The crew of the Horizon stood in stunned silence. Sarah found her voice first. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the International Space Station Horizon. We receive you, Ambassador." Zexara's expression, if it could be called that, seemed to soften. "Captain Chen, your species stands at a crossroads. The path ahead is fraught with danger, but also immense potential. We have been watching your progress for centuries, and now the time has come to extend our hand in friendship." Questions tumbled through Sarah's mind. Why now? What dangers? But she forced herself to focus on the diplomatic niceties her training had drilled into her. "We are honored by your contact, Ambassador. May I ask what prompted this invitation?" The alien's image flickered slightly. "The galaxy is changing, Captain. Ancient balances of power are shifting. Humanity's ingenuity and adaptability may prove crucial in the times to come. But first, you must be prepared." Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. The weight of this moment, representing all of humanity in first contact, pressed down on her shoulders. Prepared for what exactly? "For the vastness of the cosmos, Captain, for technologies beyond your current understanding, for the complex web of alliances and rivalries that shake galactic politics." Zexara paused, its large eyes seeming to look directly into Sarah's soul. "And for the responsibility that comes with great power." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. I'm not sure I understand." "You will, in time," Zexara assured her. "For now, know this. A delegation from the Confederation will arrive on your planet in one standard solar rotation. We will bring with us the means to uplift your species technologically, to cure your diseases, to end your energy crisis. But these gifts come with a price." The tension in the room was palpable. Sarah steeled herself. "And what price would that be?" Zexara's image seemed to grow larger, filling the screen. "Your assistance in maintaining the peace of the galaxy. Your willingness to stand with us against those who would plunge civilizations into chaos. Your commitment to the greater good, even when it may conflict with your own immediate interests." Sarah's mind raced. This was far beyond her pay grade, beyond any human's experience. But she knew she had to respond. "Ambassador, I cannot speak for all of humanity. But I can say that we have long dreamed of reaching the stars, of being part of something greater than ourselves. If your offer is genuine, I believe many of us would embrace it." The alien's face showed what might have been a smile. "Your words give me hope, Captain Chen. Prepare your leaders. When we arrive, we will provide proof of our intentions and the means to verify our claims. The choice to join us will be yours, but know that refusing may leave your world vulnerable to less benevolent forces in the galaxy." With that ominous note, the transmission cut off, leaving the crew of the Horizon in stunned silence. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to process the enormity of what had just happened. Raj, get me a direct line to mission control. And someone wake up the UN Secretary General. I don't care what time it is there. As her crew scrambled to action, Sarah turned back to the viewport, her gaze now fixed on the distant speck of Jupiter. Somewhere out there, an alien delegation was heading towards Earth, bringing with them unimaginable changes. Well, she muttered to herself, guess we're not alone after all. The next 24 hours were a whirlwind of activity. News of the alien contacts spread like wildfire across the globe, sparking everything from celebration to panic. World leaders convened in emergency sessions, militaries went on high alert, and religious figures of all faiths struggled to reconcile their beliefs with this new reality. Sarah found herself thrust into the spotlight, recounting her conversation with Zexara to an endless parade of officials, scientists, and journalists. Through it all, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was woefully unprepared for what was coming. As the deadline approached, a tense calm settled over the planet. The chosen landing site, a remote area in the Australian outback, was surrounded by a mix of scientific equipment, military hardware, and a sea of media cameras. Sarah stood among the welcoming committee, her space station uniform exchanged for a more formal dress uniform. Her palms were sweaty, her heart racing. This was it, the moment that would change human history forever. A low hum filled the air, growing in intensity until it was almost painful. The sky shimmered, and then they were there. A sleek, silver craft unlike anything humanity had ever built, hovering silently above the landing zone. As a hatch opened and a ramp extended, Sarah took a deep breath. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. And maybe, just maybe, they were ready for the challenge. The first alien figure to emerge was unmistakably Zexara. In person, the ambassador was taller than Sarah had expected, easily 7 feet in height. Its blue skin shimmered with an almost metallic quality, and its movements were fluid, almost dance-like. Behind Zexara came a procession of other aliens, each unique in appearance. Some were humanoid, others decidedly not. The diversity was staggering, a living testament to the vastness of life in the universe. As Zexara approached, Sarah stepped forward. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, but she refused to let it show. She extended her hand, hoping the gesture would be understood. "Ambassador Zexara," she said, her voice steady. "On behalf of the people of Earth, welcome to our world." Zexara regarded her hand for a moment, then reached out with its own appendage, a 6-fingered hand with iridescent skin. As they touched, Sarah felt a slight tingle, like a mild electric shock. "Captain Chen," Zexara's melodious voice filled the air. "We are honored by your welcome. May this day mark the beginning of a new era for both our peoples." As the formal greetings continued, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. The gifts the aliens had promised, cures for diseases, advanced technology, clean energy, could revolutionize life on Earth, but at what cost? And were humans ready for such rapid advancement? The diplomatic niceties concluded, and Zexara turned to address the assembled crowd and the billions watching via broadcast. "People of Earth," the alien began, its voice somehow reaching every ear clearly despite the open air. "Today, you join a community of civilizations stretching across the galaxy. We bring you knowledge, we bring you technology, we bring you a chance to take your rightful place among the stars." A murmur ran through the crowd. Sarah could feel the hope, the excitement, but also the undercurrent of fear. "But we also bring you a warning," Zexara continued, its tone growing somber. "The galaxy is not always a peaceful place. There are forces that would see young civilizations like yours subjugated or destroyed. By accepting our help, you also accept a responsibility to stand with us against these threats, to be a force for good in the cosmic order." Sarah's mind raced. This was more than just first contact, it was an alliance, a call to arms. Humanity was being asked to step onto a galactic stage they barely understood. As Zexara spoke of the wonders and challenges that lay ahead, Sarah found her gaze drawn to the sky. The stars were just becoming visible as dusk fell. Those tiny points of light, once so distant and mysterious, now represented potential friends, enemies, and everything in between. The alien delegation had brought with them a wealth of information, historical records, scientific data, cultural exchanges. As the initial shock of first contact wore off, humanity dove into this treasure trove of knowledge with characteristic enthusiasm. Sarah found herself working closely with the aliens, serving as a liaison between Earth's scientists and the Confederation's experts. The learning curve was steep but exhilarating. Each day brought new revelations, new challenges to overcome. One evening, as she pored over a holographic display of the Milky Way, mapping out the complex web of alien civilizations, Zexara approached her. "You adapt quickly, Captain Chen," the alien observed. "It is a trait we value highly in the Confederation." Sarah smiled, though her eyes remained fixed on the galaxy map. "We've had a lot of practice adapting. Our history is full of rapid changes and challenges overcome." Zexara made a sound that might have been a chuckle. "Indeed, it is one of the reasons we chose this moment to contact you. Your species stands at a unique point in its development, advanced enough to grasp the fundamentals of our science, yet flexible enough to integrate it without being overwhelmed." Sarah turned to face the ambassador, her expression serious. "And the other reasons? You mentioned dangers, shifts in the balance of power. What aren't you telling us?" Zexara's large eyes blinked slowly. "Perceptive, as always. You are correct, Captain. There is more at stake than we have revealed publicly." The alien gestured to a section of the galactic map. "Here, on the fringes of Confederation space, a new power is rising. They call themselves the Void Collective. Their philosophy is antithetical to our own." Sarah leaned in, studying the indicated region. "How so?" "Where we seek cooperation and mutual growth, they believe in domination. Assimilation. They see diversity as a weakness to be eliminated." Zexara's voice took on a grim tone. "They have already subjugated several younger civilizations. We fear Earth may be their next target." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. "So we're not just joining some galactic UN, we're being recruited into a war." Zexara's expression was unreadable. "Not yet, but conflict may be inevitable. The Void Collective's ideology leaves little room for peaceful coexistence." Sarah's mind raced. This was far beyond anything she or any other human had trained for. The fate of not just Earth, but potentially multiple civilizations hung in the balance. "What can we do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Zexara placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "For now, learn. Grow. Prepare. Your species has a unique perspective, Captain Chen. Fresh eyes often see solutions that older civilizations miss. We believe humanity may hold the key to preserving peace in the galaxy." As the alien ambassador moved away, Sarah turned back to the holographic map. The vastness of space, once so empty, now seemed crowded with possibilities and dangers. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew humanity would face them head-on. The stars had always called to her, promising adventure and discovery. Now they offered something more, a chance for humanity to prove itself on the grandest stage imaginable. Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. The road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready. They all were. It was time for humanity to take its place among the stars. Humanity's surprising new role in galactic affairs. 6 months after first contact, Earth was a planet transformed. Gleaming spires of alien-human hybrid architecture reached towards the sky in major cities. Clean energy plants, gifts from the Confederation, had begun to reverse centuries of environmental damage. And in hospitals around the world, diseases once thought incurable were being eradicated. But for Captain Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's liaison to the Galactic Confederation, the most profound changes were happening far above the planet's surface. Sarah stood on the bridge of the GSV Horizon, Earth's first true starship. Built with Confederation technology but crewed entirely by humans, it represented humanity's first real step into the galactic community. The ship was currently in orbit around Mars, preparing for its maiden voyage beyond the solar system. Final systems check complete, Captain. Lieutenant Raj Patel reported from his station. We're ready to initiate the jump drive. Sarah nodded, a mix of excitement and nervousness churning in her stomach. Very well, let's make history. As Raj began the countdown, Sarah's mind drifted to the events that had led to this moment. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of diplomacy, technological integration, and cultural exchange. Earth's governments had united in ways previously thought impossible, driven by the need to present a unified front to the galactic community. But it hadn't all been smooth sailing. There were those who distrusted the aliens, who saw the rapid advancements as a threat to human identity. Protests had erupted in some areas, and a few fringe groups had even attempted acts of sabotage against Confederation installations. The countdown reached 0, and Sarah gripped the arms of her command chair. Engage jump drive. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to twist, the stars outside the view screen stretching into lines of light. Sarah's stomach lurched, and then they were elsewhere. The red disk of Mars was gone, replaced by an unfamiliar starfield. Jump successful, Reg announced, his voice filled with awe. We've arrived in the Proxima Centauri system. A cheer went up from the bridge crew. Humanity had taken its first step beyond the solar system. As the initial excitement settled, Sarah turned her attention to their mission. The Horizon wasn't just a test flight. They were here to meet with representatives from other Confederation member races to begin integrating Earth more fully into galactic affairs. Captain, the ship's AI announced, we're receiving a transmission from the Proxima station. On screen, Sarah commanded. The view screen flickered to life, showing an alien face, not the now familiar features of Zexaris species, but something new. The being had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and what looked like feathers instead of hair. Greetings, Earth vessel, the alien said, its voice a melodious trill. I am Station Commander Krelax. Welcome to Confederation space. Sarah stepped forward, standing tall. Thank you, Commander. I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the GSV Horizon. We're honored to be here. Krelax's feathers rippled in what Sarah had learned was a sign of pleasure among their species. The honor is ours, Captain. Your arrival marks a historic moment for the Confederation. Please, dock with our station. There is much to discuss. As the Horizon maneuvered towards the sprawling space station, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Despite the challenges, despite the naysayers, humanity had risen to the occasion. They were taking their place among the stars. The docking procedure went smoothly, a testament to the effectiveness of the hybrid human-alien technology. As Sarah led her team through the airlock and onto the station, she was struck by the diversity of life forms bustling about. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors moved with purpose, barely sparing the humans a second glance. Commander Krelax met them at the central hub, accompanied by a delegation of other alien representatives. Captain Chen, welcome aboard Proxima Station. If you'll follow me, the Council is eager to meet with you. As they walked, Sarah's mind raced. She had been briefed on the Confederation's governing structure, but actually participating in it was another matter entirely. They entered a large, circular chamber. In the center was a holographic display of the galaxy, slowly rotating. Around it sat beings from a dozen different species, all turning to regard the human delegation. A tall, willowy being with skin like polished silver stood. Captain Chen, representatives of Earth, I am High Counselor Xin Aura. We have been following your progress with great interest. Sarah bowed slightly, as she had been instructed. High Counselor, members of the Council, we are honored by your welcome and eager to learn our role in the Confederation. Xin Aura's expression was unreadable, but there was a warmth in their voice. "Your role, Captain, may be more significant than you realize. We have brought you here not just as new members, but as potential saviors." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Sarah exchanged glances with her team, confusion evident on their faces. "I'm not sure I understand, High Counselor." Zinara gestured to the galactic display. A section of it pulsed an angry red. "The Void Collective, of which you have been warned, grows stronger by the day. Our analysts predict they will launch a major offensive within the next standard year. The Confederation's defenses are strong, but not strong enough," Sarah finished, her heart sinking. Zinara nodded sullenly. "Correct. We have grown complacent in our long peace. The collective's aggression has caught us unprepared. But you, humans, you are different. Your history is filled with conflict, with overcoming impossible odds. We believe you may hold the key to our survival." Sarah's mind reeled. This was far beyond what they had expected. Earth had barely taken its first steps into interstellar space, and already they were being asked to help save the galaxy. "High Counselor," she said carefully, "while we're honored by your faith in us, I'm not sure we're ready for such a responsibility. We're still learning about the wider galaxy, still adapting to your technology." A being that looked like a cross between an octopus and a tree rustled its branches. "It is precisely because you are still adapting that we need you," it said, its voice a whisper of leaves in the wind. "Your perspectives are fresh, unclouded by millennia of set patterns. You see possibilities where we see only obstacles." Another council member, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell, pulsed brightly. "We have reviewed your historical records, studied your conflicts and your resolutions. Your species has a remarkable ability to innovate under pressure, to find unconventional solutions to dire problems." Sarah felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. She took a deep breath, centering herself. "What exactly are you asking of us?" Dinara's silver skin shimmered. "We are asking you to take a leading role in our defense planning, to bring your unique human perspective to bear on this threat, and if necessary, to stand with us on the front lines on the Void Collective attacks." The chamber fell silent, all eyes on Sarah and her team. She could feel the mix of emotions from her crew: fear, excitement, determination. This was not what they had signed up for when they joined Earth's fledgling space program, but it was the reality they now faced. Sarah straightened her shoulders, meeting Zinara's gaze. "High Counselor, members of the Council, humanity is still finding its place in this vast galaxy. We have much to learn, and I won't pretend we have all the answers. But if you believe we can help, if our perspective can make a difference, then we will do everything in our power to assist." A ripple of what might have been approval went through the assembled aliens. Zinara's mouth curved in what Sarah hoped was a smile. "Thank you, Captain Chen. Your willingness to aid us in our time of need will not be forgotten. Now, let us begin. We have much to plan, and little time to do it." As the council members began outlining the strategic situation, Sarah's mind raced. Humanity had dreamed of the stars for centuries, imagining grand adventures and peaceful exploration. The reality, it seemed, was far more complex and dangerous than they had ever anticipated. But as she listened to the briefing, noting the strengths and weaknesses of the various factions, Sarah felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, humanity's long history of overcoming adversity had prepared them for this moment. They might be new to the galactic stage, but they were ready to play their part. The fate of not just Earth, but countless civilizations across the galaxy now rested in their hands. It was a daunting responsibility, but as Sarah looked at her crew, she saw determination in their eyes. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them head-on. The stars had called to them, and they had answered. Now it was time to prove they deserved their place among them. Adapting to alien customs and technology, the following weeks aboard Proxima Station were a whirlwind of activity for Sarah and her crew. They were thrust into intensive briefings on Confederation technology, politics, and military strategy. The learning curve was steep, but the humans attacked it with characteristic determination. One afternoon, Sarah found herself in a simulation chamber with Krelax, the feathered station commander. They were running through various battle scenarios, testing human tactical thinking against the Void Collective's gnome strategies. "Impressive, Captain Chen," Krelax trilled as Sarah's simulated fleet outmaneuvered a collective ambush. "Your species' grasp of three-dimensional combat is remarkable for newcomers to space warfare." Sarah wiped sweat from her brow, grinning. "Thanks. I guess all those space combat video games back on Earth weren't a waste of time after all." Krelax's feathers rippled in confusion. "Video games? You mean you simulate warfare for entertainment?" "Well, yes," Sarah replied, suddenly realizing how that might sound to a species that had known millennia of peace. "It's not just warfare, though. We simulate all sorts of scenarios. It's a way to explore possibilities, to challenge ourselves." The alien's four eyes blinked in rapid succession. "Fascinating. Perhaps this is part of why you adapt so quickly to new situations. Your minds are constantly exploring hypotheticals." Before Sarah could respond, an alarm blared through the station. Red lights pulsed along the corridors as they rushed to the command center. "Report," Krelax demanded as they entered. A holographic display sprang to life, showing a section of space near the edge of Confederation territory. A swarm of angry red dots was moving through it. "Void Collective scout ships," an analyst explained. "They've penetrated our early warning network. We think they're probing for weaknesses." Sarah studied the display, her mind racing. "They're testing our responses, seeing how quickly we react to incursions." Krelax nodded grimly. "Agreed. We must drive them back without revealing too much of our defensive capabilities." As the Confederation fleet moved to intercept, Sarah noticed something odd about the Collective's formation. "Wait," she said, pointing to a section of the display. "Look at their flight pattern. It's too erratic, even for a scouting mission." She manipulated the hologram, zooming in on the area. "There, that emission's signature. I think they're deploying some kind of probe or beacon." Krelax's feathers stood on end. "By the cosmic egg, you're right. All ships, priority target on grid sector 7 Alpha. Destroy that probe at all costs." The battle that ensued was brief but intense. Thanks to Sarah's observation, the Confederation forces were able to destroy the Collective's hidden device before it could transmit any data. The scout ships retreated, but the tension in the command center remained high. "Well spotted, Captain Chen," Krelax said, placing a feathered appendage on Sarah's shoulder. "You may have just prevented a major intelligence breach." Sarah nodded, but her mind was already racing ahead. "We got lucky this time. We need to improve our sensor capabilities if we want to catch things like this in the future." As they began discussing potential upgrades to the Confederation's detection systems, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and trepidation. Humanity was proving its worth, but the stakes were impossibly high. One mistake could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. Over the next few days, Sarah and her team threw themselves into improving the Confederation's defenses. They'd brought human perspectives to problems that had stumped alien engineers for years, suggesting unconventional solutions that often proved effective. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural misunderstandings and clashes of perspective were frequent and sometimes tense. During one particularly heated strategy session, a crystalline being named Tarax bristled, literally, its crystal facets becoming sharp and jagged, at a suggestion from Lieutenant Patel. "Unacceptable," Tarax chimed, its voice ringing with indignation. "You propose we use deception, false signals to confuse the enemy. Where is the honor in such tactics?" Raj stood his ground, though Sarah could see he was unnerved by the alien's hostile display. "With all due respect, Axarax, honor doesn't mean much if we're all dead. The Void Collective isn't going to play fair. We need every advantage we can get." The argument escalated, with other council members taking sides. Sarah watched, torn between intervening and letting the debate play out. This was the challenge they faced, bridging vast gulfs of culture and philosophy to forge a unified defense. Finally, she stepped forward. Everyone, please. We all want the same thing, to protect our peoples and defeat the collective. But we come from different worlds, different histories. Instead of seeing our differences as obstacles, why don't we try to use them as strengths? The chamber fell silent, all eyes, and other sensory organs, on her. Thorax, she continued, your people value honor and directness. That's admirable, and it can be a powerful psychological weapon against an enemy that expects deception. But Raj is right too. Sometimes we need to fight smart, not just hard. What if we combined approaches? Use honorable, direct tactics to draw the enemy's attention, while subtler maneuvers outflank them. There was a moment of silence, then Thorax's crystal body softened, its edges becoming smooth again. An intriguing proposal, Captain Chen. Perhaps there is wisdom in this blending of philosophies. As the discussion turned to how they might implement such hybrid tactics, Sarah caught Ray's eye and gave him a subtle nod. It was a small victory, but an important one. They were learning to work together, to find strength in their diversity. Weeks turned into months, and the Proxima station became a hub of feverish activity. Ships from across Confederation space arrived daily, bringing new allies, technologies, and ideas. Sarah and her crew found themselves at the heart of it all, their human perspectives valued and sought after. But even as they made progress, reports from the fringes of Confederation space grew increasingly grim. The Void Collective was massing its forces, subjugating or destroying any civilizations in its path. The coming conflict seemed inevitable, and Sarah often found herself lying awake at night, wondering if they would be ready when it came. One evening, as she stood in the station's observation dome watching the stars, she felt a presence beside her. It was Zinara, the High Counselor, their silver skin reflecting the starlight. Troubled thoughts, Captain Chen, the alien asked, its voice soft. Sarah nodded, not taking her eyes off the vista before her. I can't help but think about Earth, about all the worlds out there. So much is riding on what we do here. Zinara was silent for a moment. It is a heavy burden, yes, but one I believe your species is uniquely suited to bear. You humans, you dream so vividly, hope so fiercely. It is a quality many of us had forgotten. Sarah turned to face the High Counselor. But is it enough? The Void Collective has been preparing for this for years. We're still catching up. Perhaps Zinara conceded, but there is an Earth saying I have become fond of. The night is darkest just before the dawn. We stand at the threshold of great change, Captain, and while the path ahead is uncertain, I believe that with humanity at our side, we have a real chance at victory. As they stood there, watching distant suns twinkle, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. Yes, the challenge before them was immense. Yes, the fate of countless civilizations hung in the balance, but they would face it together, the combined strength of myriad worlds and cultures standing against the darkness. The Void Collective was coming, but humanity and its new allies would be ready. A looming interstellar conflict tests new alliances. The GSV Horizon cut through the darkness of space, its hybrid human-alien technology humming with power. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. A sea of red indicators marked the advance of the Void Collective fleet, pushing ever closer to Confederation space. Status report, Sarah commanded, her voice tense but steady. Lieutenant Raj Patel's fingers danced over his console. Collective forces have breached the outer defense line in Sector 9. Confederation allies are holding at choke points, but are taking heavy losses. Sarah nodded grimly. The past few months had seen a series of skirmishes escalate into full-blown battles. The Void Collective was probing the Confederation's defenses, testing for weaknesses. So far, the strategies developed by the Human-Alien Coalition had held, but the cost was mounting. Captain, the ship's AI announced, Incoming transmission from High Counselor Zin Ara. On screen, Sarah ordered. The silvery face of the Confederation leader appeared before them. Captain Chen, we have a situation. The collective has targeted the Nixarian system. If it falls, they'll have a clear path to the core worlds. Sarah's mind raced. The Nixarians were a peaceful species, their planet rich in resources the collective could use to fuel their war machine. We're on our way, High Counselor, but we'll need backup. Zinara nodded sullenly. I'm dispatching all available ships to your position, but Captain, the Nixarians have a non-intervention policy. They refuse to take up arms, even in their own defense. Sarah felt a headache forming. This was the challenge they faced time and again, trying to defend allies whose philosophies sometimes clashed with the realities of war. Understood. We'll do what we can. As the horizon jumped to the Nixarian system, Sarah gathered her senior staff for a briefing. The holographic display showed the idyllic world of Nixar, surrounded by the approaching collective fleet. All right, people, Sarah began, we've got a tough situation here. We need to defend a planet that won't defend itself. Ideas. Lieutenant Emma Rodriguez, the tactical officer, spoke up. What if we use the Nixarians' pacifism to our advantage? The collective won't be expecting any resistance from the surface. We could hide our ships in the planet's atmosphere, spring a trap when they move in. Reg nodded enthusiastically. And we could use those new cloaking devices that Powereth developed. The collective won't see us coming. Sarah considered the plan. It was risky, but it might just work. Good thinking. But we need to make sure the Nixarians are on board. They might see this as a violation of their neutrality. As if on cue, the ship's AI announced another incoming transmission. The face that appeared on the screen was distinctly Nixarian, ethereal, with swirling patterns of light beneath translucent skin. Greetings, Confederation vessels, the alien said, its voice melodious but tinged with worry. I am First Speaker Lurian. We appreciate your concern, but we cannot condone violence in our system. Our ways are those of peace. Sarah stepped forward, her expression earnest. First Speaker, I understand your position, but the Void Collective doesn't share your values. They will destroy or enslave your people without hesitation. Lurian's face rippled with what might have been distress. Surely if we explain our position, they will respect our neutrality. Sarah shook her head. I'm sorry, that's not how the collective operates. They see pacifism as weakness, something to be exploited. Please, let us help you. There was a long moment of silence. Finally, Lurian spoke again. We cannot take up arms ourselves. It goes against everything we believe. But we will not interfere with your efforts to protect us. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. Sarah nodded gratefully. Thank you, First Speaker. We'll do everything in our power to ensure your people's safety. As the transmission ended, Sarah turned back to her crew. All right, let's make this happen. Rodriguez, coordinate with the other ships. I want that ambush perfect. Raj, work with the Nixarians to set up sensor buoys. We need early warning when the collective arrives. The next few hours were a flurry of activity. Confederation ships took up hidden positions around Nixar, their advanced cloaking technology rendering them invisible to all but the most sophisticated scans. On the surface, the Nixarians went about their lives, an image of serenity that belied the tension in orbit. Sarah stood on the horizon's bridge, every muscle tense. This would be the largest engagement with the collective yet. The outcome could very well determine the course of the war. Collective ships entering the system, Raj announced, his voice tight. Sarah took a deep breath. All ships, maintain position, wait for my signal. The collective fleet advanced, their black ships like a swarm of locusts against the stars. As they approached Nixar, their formations spread out, preparing to encircle the planet. They're launching dropships, Rodriguez reported. Looks like they're going for a ground invasion. Sarah's eyes narrowed. This was their chance. All ships, execute attack plan Delta. Hit them hard, hit them fast. The space around Nixar erupted into chaos. Confederation ships decloaked, unleashing a barrage of weapons fire that caught the collective completely off guard. Explosions blossomed in the void as the first wave of enemy ships were torn apart. But the collective recovered quickly. Their remaining ships formed up, returning fire with a ferocity that shook the horizon. Shields at 80%, Raj called out. The collective's adapting to our tactics. Sarah gritted her teeth. They'd bloodied the collective's nose, but this fight was far from over. Push forward. We need to keep them away from the planet. The battle raged for hours, a deadly dance of energy weapons and missile salvos. The space around Nixar became a graveyard of broken ships, both Confederation and collective. Just when it seemed the tide was turning in their favor, a massive ship emerged from hyperspace, a collective dreadnought, easily twice the size of the horizon. Evasive maneuvers. Sarah shouted as the behemoth opened fire, its weapons tearing through their fleet. The horizon rocked violently, alarms blaring throughout the ship. Direct hit. Raj yelled over the noise. Shields failing. Sarah's mind raced. They were outgunned, but they couldn't let Nixar fall. An idea struck her. Crazy, possibly suicidal, but it just might work. All power to engines, she commanded. Set a collision course for that dreadnought. Her crew looked at her in shock, but there was no time for debate. The horizon surged forward, accelerating towards the massive collective ship. Collective vessel charging weapons, Rodriguez reported, her voice tight. Sarah's hands gripped her chair. Hold course. Divert all remaining power to the forward shields. The dreadnought loomed larger in their view screen, its weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. At the last possible moment, Sarah shouted, "Now! Emergency jump!" The Horizon's jump drive engaged, catapulting them into hyperspace mere seconds before impact. The sudden disappearance of their target caused the dreadnought's massive energy weapon to overshoot, the beam slicing through their own fleet. As the Horizon re-emerged from hyperspace on the other side of the collective formation, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. All ships, concentrate fire on that dreadnought. Their shields should be down from the weapon's discharge. The Confederation fleet rallied, pouring fire into the suddenly vulnerable collective flagship. Under the combined assault, the massive ship began to break apart, secondary explosions rippling along its hull. With their centerpiece destroyed and their formation in disarray, the remaining collective ships began to retreat. Cheers erupted on the Horizon's bridge as the enemy jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Nixarian system behind. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Sarah surveyed the damage. They'd won, but at a heavy cost. Numerous Confederation ships had been destroyed or damaged, and even Nixar hadn't escaped unscathed. Some collective weapons fire had made it through to the surface. A transmission came through from the planet. First speaker Lurjan's face appeared, looking shaken but resolute. "Captain Chen, we cannot thank you enough. Our people are safe, thanks to your efforts. Perhaps we have been too rigid in our pacifism. There are times when one must stand up to protect others." Sarah nodded sullenly. "Your philosophy of peace is admirable, first speaker, but sometimes peace must be defended. We're honored to stand with you." As the cleanup began and distress calls were answered, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. They'd won a significant victory, but the Void Collective would be back, and they'd be out for revenge. The war for the galaxy had truly begun, and humanity was right at the center of it. As Sarah looked out at the stars, she silently vowed to do whatever it took to protect not just Earth, but all the worlds that now depended on them. The road ahead would be difficult, but they would face it together. An audacious plan to save multiple civilizations. The aftermath of the Battle of Nixar sent shockwaves through the Confederation. While it was a decisive victory, it had come at a steep cost. As reports flooded in from across Confederation space, it became clear that the Void Collective was escalating its attacks on multiple fronts. Captain Sarah Chen found herself summoned to an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The Horizon, still bearing scars from the recent battle, docked at the massive space station that served as the Confederation's capital. As Sarah entered the council chambers, she was struck by the somber atmosphere. Representatives from dozens of species sat in tiered seats, their faces, or equivalent sensory organs, grim. High Counselor Zinara stood at the center, their silver skin dulled with fatigue. Captain Chen, Zinara greeted her. "Thank you for coming. We find ourselves at a crossroads." Sarah took her seat, nodding to familiar faces, Krelax, Xarax, and others she'd worked with over the past months. "What's the situation, High Counselor?" Zinara activated a holographic display of the galaxy. Red areas, marking collective-controlled space, had expanded significantly. The collective is advancing on multiple fronts. We've managed to halt their progress in some sectors, but others are falling faster than we can respond. Our analysts project that at this rate, we'll be overwhelmed within a standard year. Murmurs of dismay rippled through the chamber. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. There has to be something we can do. What about the new technologies we've been developing? XRX, the crystalline being, chimed in. Our advancements are promising, but not progressing quickly enough. The collective adapts to each new strategy we employ. Perhaps, a new voice interjected, it is time we considered alternative measures. All eyes turned to the speaker, a member of a species Sarah hadn't encountered before. They were tall and slender, with iridescent scales and eyes that seemed to look in multiple directions at once. Zinara's expression tightened. "Counselor Vexalia, we've discussed this. The risks are too great." Sarah looked between them, confused. "I'm sorry, what alternative measures?" Vexalia fixed one of their eyes on Sarah. "There is a weapon, Captain Chen, one of unimaginable power. It was created eons ago by a now extinct race. We call it the Nexus Key." "The Nexus Key is not a solution," Zinara said firmly. "It's a doomsday device. Using it could tear the very fabric of space-time." Sarah's mind reeled. A weapon that powerful could indeed turn the tide against the collective, but at what cost? What exactly does this Nexus Key do? Vexalia's scales shimmered. It was designed to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. In theory, it could be used to create a cascading failure in the collective's neural network, essentially shutting down their entire civilization in an instant. Or it could create a chain reaction that destroys half the galaxy. Krelax interjected, his feathers ruffling in agitation. The council erupted into heated debate. Some argued that the risk was worth taking, that it was their only chance at survival. Others insisted that using such a weapon would make them no better than the collective. As the arguments raged, Sarah found herself deep in thought. There had to be another way, a solution that didn't rely on either slowly losing a war of attrition or risking galactic annihilation. Suddenly, an idea struck her. It was audacious, possibly insane, but it just might work. "Counselors," she said, raising her voice to be heard over the din. "What if we could use the Nexus Key without activating it?" The chamber fell silent, all attention turning to her. Sarah stood, moving to the holographic display. "The collective doesn't know about the Nexus Key, right? So what if we leak information about it, make them think we're planning to use it?" Zinara's eyes widened in understanding. A bluff. Sarah nodded, warming to her idea. "More than that, we create an elaborate deception, make it look like we're gathering resources, moving fleets into position. We leak just enough real information to make it convincing." "To what end?" Thorax asked, its crystalline body glinting with interest. "To force them to commit to a decisive battle," Sarah explained. "Right now, the collective is spreading us thin, attacking on too many fronts. But if they believe we're about to deploy a superweapon that could wipe them out instantly..." They'd have no choice but to concentrate their forces to stop us. Prelax finished, excitement evident in his voice. Sarah grinned. Exactly. We choose the battlefield, prepare our defenses, and when they commit everything to stop our superweapon, we spring the trap, Vexalia said, all of their eyes now focused intently on Sarah. The council chamber buzzed with renewed energy as the implications of the plan sank in. It was risky, requiring a level of coordination and deception on a galactic scale. But if it worked, they could deal a crippling blow to the collective without resorting to the use of the Nexus key. Zinara raised a hand, calling for quiet. Captain Chen, your plan is audacious, but it could work. However, the level of deception required. Some of our member races may find it difficult to participate in such subterfuge. Sarah nodded, understanding the concern. Then we compartmentalize. Only a select few know the full plan. Everyone else operates on a need-to-know basis. It's not ideal, but it's necessary. After hours of debate and refinement, the Council finally reached a consensus. Operation Pandora's Box, as it came to be called, was given the green light. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Sarah found herself at the center of it all, coordinating with intelligence agencies, fleet commanders, and scientific teams across the Confederation. They crafted an intricate web of truths, half-truths, and carefully constructed lies, all designed to convince the collective that the Nexus key was real and about to be deployed. Leaked communications spoke of convoy movements and resource gathering. Dummy installations were built on remote worlds. The horizon itself was publicly refitted with exotic technologies, all for show, but convincing to any watching eyes. As the operation progressed, the collective's movements began to change. Just as they'd hoped, the enemy began to consolidate its forces, pulling back from some fronts to strengthen others. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Some Confederation members, unaware of the true nature of the operation, protested what they saw as a dangerous escalation. Sarah found herself walking a tightrope, trying to maintain the deception while also keeping the alliance from fracturing. Finally, after months of preparation, everything was in place. The Confederation fleet, bolstered by newly developed technologies and tactics, gathered at a strategically chosen system. The bait was set. Sarah stood on the bridge of the horizon, surveying the assembled armada. Ships of all shapes and sizes filled the viewport, representing the combined might of 100 civilizations. Collective fleet detected, Reg announced, his voice tense. Multiple signatures. By the stars, it's their entire war fleet. Sarah took a deep breath. This was it. Everything hinged on the next few hours. All ships, battle stations. May fortune favor the bold. As the Void Collective's massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace, Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. They'd taken the bait. Now it was time to spring the trap and, hopefully, change the course of the war. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and humanity's audacious gambit was about to be put to the ultimate test. Reshaping the galaxy through cooperation and innovation. The space around the chosen battlefield erupted into chaos as the Void Collective's war fleet engaged the Confederation armada. Energy weapons crisscrossed the void, missiles streaked between ships, and fighters darted through the melee like angry insects. From the bridge of the horizon, Captain Sarah Chen directed the battle with a mixture of determination and barely contained anxiety. Everything hinged on this moment, reshaping the galaxy through cooperation and innovation. The space around the chosen battlefield erupted into chaos as the Void Collective's war fleet engaged the Confederation armada. Energy weapons crisscrossed the void, missiles streaked between ships, and fighters darted through the melee like angry insects. From the bridge of the horizon, Captain Sarah Chen directed the battle with a mixture of determination and barely contained anxiety. Everything hinged on this moment. Collective forces are pushing hard on our left flank, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, her fingers dancing over the tactical display. They're trying to break through to the Nexus key installation. Sarah nodded grimly. The massive structure they'd built as a decoy was performing its job perfectly, drawing the bulk of the collective's attention. Reinforce that sector. We need to keep them focused on the bait. As the battle raged on, it became clear that despite their numerical advantage, the collective was off balance. Their usual tactics of overwhelming force and adaptability were hindered by their single-minded focus on destroying the non-existent superweapon. "Captain," Reg called out, his voice tight with excitement. "I'm detecting fluctuations in the collective's neural network. The data package is working." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. This was the true heart of their plan. While the collective was distracted by the massive space battle, specially designed AI programs were being fed into their hive mind, exploiting vulnerabilities they discovered during months of careful study. "Keep the pressure on," Sarah ordered. "We need to give the virus more time to spread." Hours passed, the battle raging with unrelenting fury. The Confederation took heavy losses. They gave as good as they got. And all the while, the digital infiltration of the collective's neural network continued. Suddenly, alarms blared across the horizon's bridge. "Massive energy spike detected," Raj shouted. "It's coming from the collective's flagship." Sarah's blood ran cold. Had they somehow managed to create their own superweapon? All ships braced for impact. But the expected devastating attack never came. Instead, the massive collective vessel seemed to shudder, arcs of energy crawling across its surface. "Their systems are going haywire," Rodriguez reported, wonder in her voice. "The virus, it's working." Across the battlefield, collective ships began to falter. Some drifted aimlessly, their crews seemingly incapacitated. Others turned on each other, firing wildly as conflicting commands tore through their neural network. "This is our chance," Sarah declared. "All ships, press the advantage. Disable as many collective vessels as you can." The tide of battle shifted dramatically. With their hive mind in chaos, the once fearsome collective armada became easy prey for the coordinated Confederation forces. Within hours, the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known was reduced to a scattered, ineffective remnant. As the last pockets of resistance were mopped up, Sarah allowed herself to slump back in her command chair, exhaustion and relief washing over her in equal measure. They'd done it. Against all odds, their audacious plan had worked. In the days that followed, the full scope of their victory became clear. The virus had spread through the collective's entire civilization, severing the connections that bound their hive mind together. Without that unifying force, that empire quickly crumbled. But victory brought its own challenges. Millions of former collective drones now found themselves with individual consciousness for the first time, lost and confused. Countless worlds lay in ruins, their populations in need of aid and reconstruction. 2 months after the battle, Sarah once again stood before the Galactic Council. The mood was markedly different from her last visit, a mix of jubilation at their victory and sullen determination to face the challenges ahead. High Counselor Zin Ara addressed the assembled representatives, their silver skin gleaming. "We stand at the dawn of a new era. The threat of the Void Collective has been vanquished, thanks in no small part to the ingenuity and courage of our human allies." Sarah felt a swell of pride as approving murmurs rippled through the chamber. Zinara continued, "But our work is far from over. We must now turn our efforts to healing the scars of war, to rebuilding what was lost, and to integrating the former collective members into our galactic community." What followed was a flurry of proposals and initiatives. Plans were laid for massive reconstruction efforts, for diplomatic missions to former collective worlds, for scientific endeavors to reverse the environmental damage caused by the war. Through it all, Sarah and her human colleagues found themselves at the center of the action. Their unique perspectives and problem-solving abilities, so crucial in winning the war, were now being applied to the challenges of peace. One evening, as Sarah stood in the council chamber's observation dome, gazing out at the star-filled sky, she felt a presence beside her. It was Kreelax, the feathered alien who had become one of her closest friends. Credit for your thoughts, Captain Chen, he trilled softly. Sarah smiled. Just thinking about how far we've come. A year ago, humanity had barely left our own solar system. Now we're helping to reshape the galaxy. Krelax's feathers rippled, and what Sarah had learned was his species' equivalent of a chuckle. Indeed, your people have proven to be the catalyst this galaxy needed. Your adaptability, your creativity, your relentless optimism in the face of overwhelming odds. These are qualities many of us had forgotten. Sarah turned to face her friend. We've all learned from each other. This victory belongs to all of us. Krelax nodded solemnly. True, but do not underestimate the impact your species has had. You've shown us that diversity can be a strength, that different perspectives can lead to solutions no one civilization could have devised alone. As they stood there, watching distant suns twinkle, Sarah felt a profound sense of hope for the future. The challenges ahead were immense, but they would face them together, a union of wildly different species united by common goals and mutual respect. The galaxy was entering a new age of exploration, cooperation, and growth. And humanity, so recently arrived on the cosmic stage, was helping to lead the way. You know, Sarah said with a grin, back on Earth, we have an old saying, the sky's the limit. Krelax's eyes twinkled with amusement. Perhaps it's time for a new saying, my friend. In this new era we're building together, not even the sky can limit us. As they shared a laugh, Sarah couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement for what the future might hold. The stars had called to humanity, and they had answered. Now those same stars beckoned them onward, promising new adventures, new challenges, and a future brighter than they had ever imagined. The end.